Hey, everybody, and welcome to Colorado Sports Connection. This is our first episode of Broncos Tonight. I'm going to be your lead host today. My name is Matt Staffieri. You've caught me on a few things like Broncos Weekly with my best bud, David Slade, but I got the newbie to the Colorado Sports Connection team, Mr. Baylor Braddock. Nice to finally get you on air, Baylor. How's it going?
Hey man, it's going great. Thank you so much for adding me to this team. I'm really excited to get talking about all the teams that we all love here in Colorado, and getting to know all the community here, all the people, and just here to talk some sports, man.
Hey, we got a lot to talk about. Primarily, we're going to be focusing on our Broncos. As if you guys didn't catch us at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, Scott Cole went live with our blizzard warning, talking all things Colorado Avalanche. So be sure to check them out on Wednesdays. Baylor and I are going to work out some kinks and figure out what day is going to work best for this Broncos Tonight episode, and we'll keep you guys posted. But when we're coming off this 3-game win streak, we just felt we had to find a time to talk about the good, the bad. Should we buy the hype? Should we be weary? We got so much to talk about it. But before we do, I got to talk about our sponsor, Bailey. This is going to be new to you, and I want you to catch on to this. So tonight's episode is going to be brought to you by Willow Seasonings and Blends. And if you guys haven't checked out the website, willowseasoningblends.com, you got to head over there, go to some of your local barbecue shops. We got them out in Loveland. We got them out in Castle Rock. They're everywhere. Please go to the website, figure out where you can buy it in store or online. They've got Sweet Heat, Sweet Smoke. They got Memphis barbecue. They got the mustard gold sauce. They got everything you can think of for all of your barbecue and food seasoning needs. Please check them out. I'll get you the details. Maybe we'll get you a little care package too, Baylor.
I was gonna say that sounds good. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. Speaking of Willow Seasonings, and I know Dave is going to hint on this on Friday, but just a reminder: every single week, Willow Seasoning sponsors a pick'em. Whoever picks the correct outcome of the Broncos game and has the closest score, you're entered to win a prize of your choosing from WillowSeasonings.com. So please check it out. All right. Now that we paid the bills, my headphones keep slinking around over my head over here, so it's a little frustrating. But, anyways, let's talk Broncos. Baylor, you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready, so ready.
All right. So, we haven't had your opinion on what the season looked like. I know it's been a roller coaster for most of us. This is, I guess, my get to know you moment a little bit on live to put you on the spot and just kind of get your overall feeling. What were you feeling prior to this 3-game win streak? What was your outlook?
Apathetic. Pretty much the same as I've been for the last 2 to 3 years. Um, I'm addicted to football. I fully acknowledge that. And us addicts like to continue to do things no matter how much it hurts us to do so every week. So I did my time the last 8 years and watched every single Broncos game, suffered through it all. And I was ready for more of the same. I was ready for more of the same this year. Kansas City games were just scheduled losses. Raiders games, scheduled losses. When you don't beat a team for 3 years and 8 years, respectively, how can you think anything different? And when you have a mindset where you're going to best case scenario split with the Chargers and you got 1-6 in your division, you're not going to make the playoffs. And if you're not making the playoffs, what are you doing? And that's just kind of been the world that us Broncos fans, I know I don't need to tell you guys, that's just been the world we've been living in. And I'm not delusional. I see it. I was I was firmly in the boat of um, fire sale at the deadline is really where we were at before this win streak, right? It was going into that Packers game. People were talking about get rid of everyone. What can we get for Judy? Like I remember watching that Packers game and thinking and getting upset every time Jerry Judy dropped a ball because I was like his trade value is plummeting with every drop. I'm like, dude, you need to all this.
Man, I'm not even gonna just to cut you off. I'm not even gonna lie. And then when he took the hit below the belt, and it's like, oh no, there's the groin, there's the trade
Dude,
value.
no, seriously, that's
It was like
literally
an internal gasp. No, I totally can relate to that.
yeah.
I mean, just sticking on Jerry Judy. I mean, even going on this 3-game win streak. Let's say we knew that was gonna happen. Do you still feel like the Broncos made the right move by retaining him? He is all that money next year is going to be guaranteed. That I think it's roughly close to 15 mil. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. Um, but do they make the right move, or do you think they should have maximized that value anyways? Get Marvin Mims Jr. on the field a little bit more, maybe check out some of these other younger guys they get on the roster, or do you think they did the right thing by retaining him and just riding the season out?
It's really tricky. For me, it had to have been an all or nothing deal. Jerry Judy, especially on the fact that he's only got the rest of this year and next year on his rookie contract. He hasn't performed well at all, whether it's his fault or not. I mean, I'm sure lots of people in scouting departments can see that he's running good routes and stuff. But I mean, let's be honest, dude. The guy can't run a playoff script. The dude, as soon as he's at the end of his route, he's a lost puppy. He doesn't know how to come back to the ball. And when you're playing for a team that hasn't had an O-line since before our Super Bowl win, I mean, you need to be able to run back to the ball. And the dude he's so locked up in his routes, like it's tough. He's just not valuable. I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, with the way we've been playing, he's been playing, we wouldn't have gotten, like, best case scenario, we'd have gotten a 3rd round pick, like absolute best round scenario. What are you going to do with a 3rd round pick, man? This team needs a lot more than a single 3rd round pick. And honestly, Jerry Judy's probably going to get you more than a 3rd round pick is in the next year and a half.
I mean, we can hope, right? But yeah.
That's
this is where it gets
I mean,
complicated.
Not even from a hoping standpoint. We need receivers right now. We simply don't have the depth at receiver that we should as an NFL team. And
no, I agree with that.
And like I said, let's go back to before the trade deadline, because like my train of thought was, you got to sell everybody. You got to sell PS2, because PS2 is the only person who can give you. If you're going to rebuild, you have to get rid of him, because he's the only one on our team that would actually give us legitimate assets back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're doing that, he's the only young player you get rid of. And then if that's the case, you get rid of Cortland, you get rid of Jerry, and then you just all of everybody you have in practice squad on your 2nd and 3rd strings, just throw them all in there.
You're getting a full evaluation.
Yeah. See who you get to keep, like who's worth keeping at all the next few years, and then just stockpile picks. That's what I wanted us to do. And you know what? Jerry Judy was just a pick to me, and every single play he ran was just a stock up or stock down equation for me. And it was a really depressing way to watch football, to watch my team that I've watched since I was a kid. Because I was rooting for us to win, but like not really. I mean, I was
absolutely
Chicago win almost.
Yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming from. I was having a similar kind of thought process, and as we kind of go in through it, we break down even this win streak, because I'll kind of get you how you're feeling now after the 3-game win streak. I'll be honest, I was looking at it as like we need to look at what it is, and looking at Jerry Judy in a 3rd round pick, I look at it as an asset. Depending on where you're falling in the draft, I mean, based upon what the Broncos have done last season and the season before, in highlighting the trade for Sean Payton, you're losing high value draft capital, and highlighting the Russell Wilson trade, you're losing high value draft capital, which has significantly hurt this team in terms of finding core players or high level core players, as well as finding above average depth in those earlier rounds that we've given up the capital for. So I was looking at it as, are the Broncos at that point, are they going to finish in the top 3? Do they have a legitimate shot at Caleb Williams, Drake May? At that point, even the way looking at the schedule, there was going to be a few wins squeaked in. Even if we didn't get hot, I was like, man, we're going to be sitting at 5 to 7 wins. That 3rd round pick, saves you maybe having to give up a second round from next year. Maybe you're going first, third, and next year's first, and you still get to keep your second. So I was looking at it. I was literally trying to calculate every equation to figure out what would be the best way to move up those 2-3 spots you needed to get a Drake May, to get a Caleb Williams. But thankfully, I have had a change of heart. This win streak, while I'm still skeptical, I am going to be honest, I'm skeptical. Has put a breath of fresh air in most of Broncos country. And how are you feeling now? Now post deadline, now we're going 3 wins in, 3 wins, stacking wins, as one of my buddies would say. We're stacking 3 wins. How are you feeling now? Do you feel like this is sustainable? And I use the keyword sustainable.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. First thing I want to start with is just how I feel. Uh, I feel great, man. It has an actual, almost tangible to me change, a positive change on my mood from a day-to-day life, man. Uh, Denver has always been a football city. It will always be a football city. The people in this city's mood is drastically dependent on how their football team is doing. And the sun's a little warmer. Breeze is a little less stiff. And it gives me reason. It reminds me why I love this sport so much. And then you gotta take a step back and look at what this team is and where they are now. These last 3 games, they played incredible. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I've been drawing this comparison. The big thing that I see with this team, on your topic of sustainability, is this team is built exactly, not obviously not nearly as good, but the formula for success is the same as a Super Bowl 50 team. You gotta trust that your defense is going to keep you in games as long as you don't put them in a bad position. And the way you do that is to take what the opposing defense gives you, which is why Russ is throwing for a career low in average per attempt, attempts per game, yards per game. It's all super low, but the dude still has one of the highest completion percentage. I think it's like almost 70%, or it's mid 60s in completion percentage on the year. He's thrown for 18 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, which, I mean, at the halfway point, if you told me he's on track for 35 touchdowns and 8 picks, I mean, I don't think anybody in Broncos country would complain about that. But the stats don't always tell the whole story, do they? Because the eye test for the offense still isn't passing. It's still, you get 5 turnovers against the Bills, and we should have won that game by 21 points. Any other team in the NFL that is a legitimate contender in this league would have won by 20 or more points. I think there was a point in the third quarter where the average drive was like damn near half field for a start for the Broncos, and
Yeah.
they still had like 12 points. And it's like, guys, you got to be able to put up points when they're given to you. And that is the whole point of that Super Bowl 50 team, was allow the defense to be mean and nasty and control that game and really impose their will on that defense or on that offense. That's what we've seen since we've made the moves to get rid of Frank Clark and Randy Gregory. We've seen this defense come alive, and we got to give Vance Joseph, who we all hated when he was a head coach, we have to give him credit, man. The turnaround since honestly, let's just say halftime of the Bears game, because the 70 points to Miami followed by the 4 straight touchdowns to the Bears was the worst football I've watched in Broncos history.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Never
ever
seen
since,
anything worse.
defense has been, nobody except for the Browns, in my opinion, has had a better defense in the league since that point. And when you have a defense like that and a quarterback who protects the ball, now all we need is a head coach who is going to stay committed to a run game that's going to eat up the clock with a very talented backfield. And for me, that's actually a sustainable model. I'm not saying they're going to come out here and win games, but I'm going to say they're going to be in a lot of football games in the fourth quarter. And that's all you can ask for in the NFL, especially when you're a middling team that hasn't done anything for the last 8 years.
No, absolutely. And I think that's where I get stuck in the contender versus pretender mindset, because I feel like that we've seen that model be successful multiple times. I mean, like you said, just even recently here. I mean, we've seen the same model. You build the team, you go get the veteran quarterback, you follow the Rams, the Bucks, the Broncos. It goes on and on. Broncos continue to do that. We thought we were getting one version of Russ. This is not. We did not get what we initially thought. Now we're going back to what traditionally worked for Russ. And I mean, we did see it be sustainable in Seattle for several years. I mean, great defense, great run game, coach that's willing to be committed. It is a sustainable formula. I guess my concerns comes back to exactly what you said. We're talking several turnovers, getting only 6 points. 6 points. Your defense can be great as much as you want. 6 points off the turnovers in Buffalo. That's all we got. And your defense can be great. But I mean, we also see that your defense can, even when the game is that close, it takes one big play and the entire momentum's gone. It's shifted. You are literally, you are dominating the game and a touchdown puts them in the lead. Literally, that's, I mean, Sky Moore catch. Go back to even Kansas City. Sky Moore catches that touchdown. He drops in the end zone. That drastically changes the entire momentum of the game. You've been dominating the entire time. You got 5 turnovers against what arguably one of the first or second best, in the AFC, depending on how you feel about Baltimore. And a touchdown could have drastically changed the outcome of that game. We're not talking a 3-game win streak anymore. And I know we're talking shoulda, woulda, coulda, but until this offense can become sustainable and put those points up, I'm going to have these drastic concerns of, is this more of a pretender? Yeah, it's going to keep us in the game, and that's exciting. We can't even ask for that. I mean, going back to even Buffalo just now, we kind of won on a technicality. I mean, they don't have 12 men on the field. It's a loss, even though we dominated 4 quarters of football defensively. I guess the other fear I have is, the defense, the one thing that continues to be a struggle. And this is why I think Ken Dorsey got fired. He's too busy focusing on making Josh Allen the hero last week instead of doing what was working for him. They were fumbling, bumbling, and whatever with James Cook, but every single time he touched the ball, it's a 6-yard.
yards.
Yeah,
15,
it's averaging over 6. I think it was like 6.8 yards a carry.
was stupid.
It's ridiculous. Latavius Murray was just bursting through.
Honestly, the fact that they didn't just hand the ball off. I mean, their touchdown drive, that was literally all runs, and they just weren't on the field in 2 minutes. I was like, why haven't you been doing that the whole game?
Exactly. It could be a completely different outcome. And then, as I look at the remaining schedule, we look at Minnesota, they've lost Kirk Cousins. Josh Dobbs is playing out of his mind. Pasternak, give you your credit, give you your due, everything. But I mean, yeah, let's be real. So what are they going to do? They're going to trust that run game like they have been the last few weeks. They did lose Cam Akers. Madison's always hurt up and down.
Questionable with a concussion, but the homeboy who came in his relief was playing a lot better than Madison has been doing all year.
Exactly.
I know he's on my fantasy team.
Exactly. So you look at Minnesota, then you got Cleveland, then you got Houston, who has a rookie. I mean, Cleveland, same question. They've ran the ball great all year. They're going with a rookie quarterback. Now, you go to Houston, rookie quarterback. They have a pretty good balance. I mean, and CJ Stroud is playing out of his mind. Then you go to Detroit, who you could argue is arguably the best rushing team in the NFL with their creativity. I mean, Montgomery touches the ball 7 times. He's already got 120 yards last week. I mean, we're going to go into a gauntlet of teams that may expose the Broncos' weakness defensively. And if you are even getting those turnovers, the offense has to be able to prove, hey, we've got the turnover. We're in plus territory here several times. We can't let the drive die between the 50 and 25. You just can't.
All right, I agree. I mean, I agree. We can't stop the run and we can't guard tight ends. That's kind of been the Broncos' MO.
We going against the number 1 fantasy tight end this week in TJ Hawkinson.
Yes, we do.
He's questionable too, though. He's questionable too.
He'll play.
I know he's going to play.
Tight ends don't sit out unless they get hit by a car.
Amen. No, I get that. Amen.
So I'm gonna bring in a little bit of optimism because I'm kind of torn because I'm fighting with myself because
every day
I'm an extremely rational sports fan, just all the way around. I'm extremely good at being able to look at my team and acknowledge its flaws. Um, but it's still important to know I'm a fan.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so I fight with myself internally all the time. So my rational side really does agree with a lot of what you just said, but
Yeah,
um, my fan side has some rationale to it too, and I kind of want to walk you through that just on the topic of this upcoming schedule. Um, because the beauty of an NFL season is every year you think you know what you're walking into,
absolutely.
and then you don't, and then it is literally, I don't know what it is, every single NFL year I'm like, yeah dude, I've got this down pat this year. I know what to expect, and then it's completely upside down and it feels like it's chaos. um,
Absolutely.
that's the NFL, and the beauty of this season is the AFC is not very good for whatever reason.
Which everybody predicted was going to be elite, right?
For whatever reason, I mean, we got preseason talks about how the best 5 quarterbacks in the NFL that are all future Hall of Famers all play in the NFC, except for Jalen Hurts. It's like, but now here we are, and it's like, you can't tell me Josh Allen is elite. You can't tell me Joe Burrow is elite right now, like right now in this active season. Like Joe Burrow does that weird thing where he's cold and then heats up. So like we're probably in that area now. But I mean, Josh Allen, I mean, Lamar Jackson's the only one playing up to snuff right now. And that leaves a lot of opportunity for a team like the Broncos that is just going to hang around in football games. And I don't know if I'm sure we all remember, there was a wild card team called the New York Giants that knocked off an 18-0 Patriots team in the Super Bowl. They had no business being there, but they just kept themselves in games, and they finished with right around the 500 record, snuck into the playoffs, and then they went on a run. I'm not saying we're going on a run, but I'm saying it's the NFL, and let's just look at the team actually, because we only got one good team left on our schedule, and it's the Lions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the rest of them are in similar positions to the Broncos as we move forward. I mean, going from Lions back, Lions definitely are crazy good, 7-2. I mean, they found what works for them. Dan Campbell, who everybody thought was kind of like not laughing stuff, but he's the odd man out in a typical coaching room. When you walk into a room, he's not your typical coach. So, I mean, it's crazy what they've done in their turnaround. I mean, you get to Houston, it's a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, and they're definitely exceeding expectations. I mean, the Browns are right here battling with the Broncos. I'll kind of go through the playoff picture. Speaking of the Browns here in a moment, here they are, but now they're having to turn to a rookie. Yeah,
No,
and now they're turning the DTR to another rookie quarterback, and that could be the window of
really
opportunity right
surprising
there.
PJ Locke, by the way, with them close, like fighting for the division. I'm surprised they're going with the rookie over PJ Locke.
I'm definitely interesting how that's working out. And then the who was I forgetting? And Vikings, same thing. They're battling here, 6-4. They battle themselves into a wild card. So it's kind of all in this same little same little category as you approach the next few weeks, and that's where can the Broncos take advantage of those opportunities? I mean, in some of these games, they should be able to. I guess it's going to be, for a lack of a better term, who's got more dog in them. But breaking down the AFC playoffs really quick, just we'll go 5-7. Steelers, who are phenomenally winning, even though they've been outgained in every single game this season. I think the first team in NFL history to have a winning record and be outgained in almost every all wins.
Because Mike Tomlin's the greatest coach that's ever lived. Can't change my mind.
Hey, I won't try to. Mike Tomlin's, yeah, definitely. I would say one of the. I don't know, greatest of all time, but definitely
Because
greatest of our
if you're
generation.
about to say Belichick, I would like to say
Yeah.
they've already lost half as many games as they lost with Brady there.
Hey, no, absolutely. I ain't gonna try to even battle in that.
You got to take that into account. But I mean,
Yeah, no,
that team just never loses.
No,
Like 500 or better, always.
always. And then the Texans. So 2 out of the 3 teams that were kind of jostling with are going to be two of the opponents. You get two big wins over Houston and Cleveland. We're taught, even if you, let's say you drop a game to Minnesota or you drop a game to Detroit, um, I mean, you still your playoff chances go up drastically. If the Broncos can go through the next 3 games and go 2-1, there's a shot.
Here's the deal. Because the AFC is the way it is, 10 wins doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot, but 2 more losses this year does not guarantee you're out. And for me, the 2 losses that are there and just I'm ready to accept are the Texans and the Lions. Everyone else on the schedule, man, why not? You know, we've talked about the Pastronaut. We've got a banged up Minnesota team coming in to Denver. They're on a 5-game winning streak, man. That's another team that is trying, like you said, trying to fight for a spot and turn their season around. But you know what, dude? This is the Broncos.
I guess the part that concerns me, I'll real quick just to interject. The part that concerns me is, and this might just be the inner fan and the mentality getting stuck in my head, the curse or whatever. It seems like the Broncos have won every game they should not have won, right? And
Yes, and
these
lost the one. Yeah,
and these 50-50 games, I mean, Packers took control of the game again late, almost didn't end in our favor. The Bears controlled that game, and then the rest we've lost. So the inner fan, the hijinks is there. So now we're getting in these 50-50 games. No one's saying the Broncos are going to get demolished by the Vikings. Nobody's saying the Broncos are going to get demolished versus the Browns. But everybody said the Bills should. This is the get right game for Buffalo. This is an easy win to continue the streak for Kansas City.
7.5-point dogs against Buffalo.
See what I mean? This is where it's coming into me. Here I am jinxing myself again. I'm telling you. So I guess my fear is like when they feel disrespected, it's different. But when it's these close, I don't know what changes, especially when you're going to be playing. Like I said, the next 2 weeks, you're playing 2 teams that have the exact same game plan as you.
I'll tell you what's changed. Correlation is not causation, I think, is how the thing goes. And I've had that thought. I've had the exact thought you just laid out. And I don't think that's what it is. I just think that it's surely a coincidence.
Hey,
This is, you know what this is? This is a team that did not know how to win, that has had a culture of losing for 6+ years, that is now remembering how to win and what it feels like to win and the hunger for winning. Because that's the thing. These are professional athletes, man.
absolutely.
Nobody competes like a professional athlete. Nobody wants to win like a professional athlete. But when you don't win and the only wins you do get never mean anything, because that's the thing. Broncos won 5 games last year, but none of them meant anything.
Nope.
None of our
Absolutely not.
wins the year after the Super Bowl when we went like 500 or something, you can argue those wins mattered because we were still in contention to the end of the year. But after that, we haven't won a game that has mattered for anything in 6 years.
No,
And
absolutely. I agree.
when that's the culture you have, when it comes time to buckle down against the Raiders in a grimy, grinded out game where there's only 6 possessions per team, like that's where that grind needs to come in. That's where you need that team that knows how to win, that team that doesn't have that losing culture. And I think that is what we're seeing. And I think what we're seeing is them hit rock bottom against the Dolphins and the Bears. You take those 70 points and those 28 points against the Bears, those 100 points that we allowed in those 6 quarters of football woke something up in this team, and they're tired of it because ever since then it's turned around. It's just been different. You can feel it, you can see it. And I mean, I still watch games, and when we're in the lead, I'm thinking, how are we going to blow this? For the first time in 6 years, I don't feel like that's what the players think. You know, I feel like there's been a mentality of the players of, oh, how are we going to lose this game? It's not that anymore. It's how are we going to beat, how are we going to close these guys out? And that's the mentality we were missing against the teams like the Raiders. I mean, look at who we lost to. Yeah, the Raiders, they had bad coaching, but they clearly got a lot of dogs on that team. Look
I
at
mean, you're seeing it now, man.
you're seeing it now. The Commanders put up 30 points on just about everybody every week.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
absolutely.
know
Hey,
what the hell's going on with that team, but I mean, these are teams that we lost to not because we're not better than, but because we didn't know how to beat them in that type of game. And now we're coming into a stretch of games that are going to be close. They're going to come down to that fourth quarter. And this is a team that now knows what it's like to be on a win streak. Man, they got to be re-addicted. Some of these pros, I mean, Justin Simmons, that man doesn't know what it means to win.
no,
That dude probably is like on an all-time high, like emotionally in his career right now. And
absolutely. Garrett Bull's in the same exact boat.
exactly, they're going to do everything in their power to keep this thing rolling. And by God, if they get beat by backup quarterbacks, it's going to be gone. There's no way. I mean,
You're gonna lead me right into my question right here. So this is such a brand new feeling for these teams, especially like
yeah,
those veterans who are looked at to be leaders. This is still a fragile environment. I mean, there we got the from the rush drama to the losing culture to the interchanging of head coach. This is like, I mean, we're talking about trying to balance out something that's got the width of a needle, right now. It is incredibly fragile right now. So I guess this leads to my concern, not necessarily concern, but I mean, it's simple. This is a realistic scenario that we just almost encountered. You get through it, you're down nitty gritty. If let's say there's not swimming on the field, does that mentality get shattered in Buffalo? Then let's say it leads back to it again. Can't I mean right now the question around Denver is, can you trust Will Lutz to be a kicker? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But it comes down to it 21-21 or 21-22 again. You got the 30, you're going to kick the field goal. He makes it, ends it. Does that easily disrupt everything? Does it just take that one loss, in your opinion, to maybe stunt all of that growth, stunt that dog mentality, and be like, damn, now
yes,
we went from 40%, let's say we get a win, stack a win, and then you lose to the Browns next in 2 weeks. Does that completely halt it?
no. And here's why. Yes, if we don't beat the Bills, it's shattered.
Okay.
Because you can't win a turnover battle 4-1. And by my count, I'm going to count 5-1 because that turnover on downs was huge.
Absolutely.
And it gave them incredible field position that they did absolutely nothing with. So you can't lose that game. Because if you lose that game, you create a divide in the locker room between the defense that just gave you 5 turnovers and the offense.
Which we're all
Now,
too familiar with. We've
but,
seen it
but,
multiple
but,
times.
but the difference is, yeah, that game shatters your confidence because of that, and it just tells you we were supposed to lose that game and we did. The confidence comes from the teams we beat, not the 3-game win streak.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If this 3-game win streak was the Panthers, the
Cardinals.
Packers, and the Cardinals, nobody feels anything about anything. That was just like, cool, we beat the teams that are doing it right and actually going for a real quarterback and not signing a journeyman or a veteran that we don't know how he's going to play. So I think, that confidence, you don't get that confidence if you don't beat the Bills and the Chiefs, because the Bills and the Chiefs are, according to the players, I mean, they're the best 2 teams in the AFC the last 5 years. The last 5 years as a whole, that's the model. Everyone wants to be the Bills. Everyone wants to be the Chiefs. Everyone thinks of that crazy playoff game as the model of what a good football team can be. And you beat them both in back-to-back weeks, one of which was in Buffalo.
Yeah,
The
in a
only
prime
loss
time. Yeah,
Buffalo
and on
had
top of
suffered.
that, hey, I mean,
The
you got
only
it.
loss in Buffalo for them all year.
Yeah. which is crazy. I mean, if we historically look at the Broncos, we struggle in Buffalo. We struggle
We do.
we struggle in primetime games. We
Yep.
struggle almost anytime we have to travel east. It's a
Anytime,
struggle.
anytime on the East Coast, we suck, and
It's historically bad. It's really bad.
it
So I
is.
mean, I definitely see where the confidence is coming from. I guess my
It's not
biggest
the three
concern is just
wins because
yeah, it's who they came against.
The Green Bay win doesn't mean anything. People keep
No,
saying a 3-game win streak. I forget. Literally forget about the Packers game. It doesn't matter. The Packers game doesn't matter to me. You should have beat that team. That team is terrible and
oh,
has
they're
less
so
talent
bad.
than you do.
Yeah,
You
no, absolutely,
beat the defending Super Bowl champions, the best
absolutely.
team in the league over the last 5 years, and
You
you
ended
beat
your streak.
and you beat the Bill and you ended your streak that was embarrassing,
Yeah.
embarrassing streak.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely think you're right. I think it's all about the quality of the opponents. I guess
So
that's
that's
where
so
that's where my concern comes with this next game.
I don't, but that's what I think. I don't think that's where, to me, it doesn't matter. They've got the confidence now. As long as they don't get blown out. That's the thing. If they lose a close one to Minnesota or a close one to the Browns, no, that confidence doesn't go away. As long as they don't get blown out, because
They shouldn't get blown out.
a
They
50
should not.
because a one-score loss in the NFL is to be expected.
Yeah.
Every game in the NFL is a
I mean,
one-score.
we're the pros of it. Yeah. I mean,
That's
Denver's a pro at it.
that's the whole point of the NFL is every game is a one-score game. Like I always laugh about that statistic of the Vikings last year and their 14-3 year, and everyone's like, "Oh, all of their games were one possession." I'm like, every NFL game is one possession.
Yeah, it's not really something to be.
Find me like every time there's a spread that's over one possession before a game, I'm the dude
Yeah.
who takes the plus money because it's the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
unless you're the Giants, who I don't even know.
the
I
Giants
don't
are a
even
mess.
know, dude. That's like a whole separate level of bad. But no, man, it's gonna be a one-score game, and the players know that.
Yeah,
The
no,
players,
absolutely.
the players know better than anybody that this is where the best of the best is, and even the worst players in the NFL are freak athletes. And if you don't show up, you're gonna get beat. And in a game where you need all 11 players on the field on your team to be able to win their matchups regularly, sometimes it's just not in the cards, and you can't let that shake you. But a 3-game winning streak with two of those against two of the best teams in the NFL over the last 5 years, what that tells them is, hey, it doesn't matter if we lose to the Vikings. It doesn't matter if we lose to the Browns or the Texans or whoever. If we can beat the Chiefs, if we can beat the Bills in Buffalo,
You can beat anybody.
you can beat anybody. And that's the first step to being a contender. And that's the first step to clawing your way out of the miserable pit that Broncos are in right now, is you got to start with the mentality. This has been
All programs are
super
one-step
important.
programs, right? Starts with the first step.
It does. It does. And
Yeah.
that first step, it's all mental. It's all
Yeah.
mental. There's not enough physical disparity in this league to justify. You got to get all of your games to be competitive before you start talking about winning those games.
Oh,
And I think we're
absolutely.
there. I think we're at least there. I expect every game from here on out to be competitive. And
It should be.
honestly,
There's no reason why it should
and,
not
and
be.
let's talk about this. 2 years ago, think about 2 years ago, if you told me that we'd be competitive in every single game except for the Dolphins, um, in 2 years, I'd be like, great. It means we're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I guess so. In a short verse, because I know we're coming down to the wire, I want to get one question from the comments, but I have one more for you.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we'll throw in our predictions for Sunday Night Football. Um, what do the Broncos have to do for you to feel that this season was a success? And the second part of that is, with that being success, is it enough to buy into the continuation of Russell Wilson with the big contract, with the negative money next year? Is it enough to buy into it?
Yeah. It's
It's a tough situation. So I guess let's start with the first part. What do the Broncos need to do
so
record wise to be
what
considered successful?
I need to see them do what they've done the last 3 weeks. I need to see them know who they are, accept who they are, and play to their strengths, because every single year your football team is going to have a different strength. and you have to be willing to adapt, whether it's a system you've never run before as a head coach or a player. You need to be able to identify the talent you have and put that talent in a position to succeed, and that changes every single year. So what I need to see is I need to see the coach of the future, because we all know Sean Payton's not going anywhere. I need to see that he is willing to not pretend like he still has Drew Brees like he did for the first 3-4 weeks of the year, and play with what he has. Because as soon as he started playing with what he has, you can see the genius. You can literally see it. He doesn't have an offensive line, but we're on a 3-game winning streak.
Fair.
That's what I need to see. I just need to see this team be true to itself, and whatever happens, happens, man. That's something we haven't seen. This team hasn't had an identity for 6 years, and we're starting to see one. And for me, all I need to see is them to accept that identity and lean into it, because if you do that, it means your head's in the right place. And then, yeah, I mean, there's no getting around the Russ money. So for me, I'm in the boat of just, even if we drafted like a Caleb Williams,
You
I'm
got
the
to eat
dude,
it.
I'm the sit him behind Russ type of guy. I'm also not a Caleb Williams fan. I think he's soft, but
Yeah, he's a different breed of quarterback. He
I mean,
doesn't he doesn't fit a
oh,
traditional mold at
oh, I'm so
any
sorry.
means.
I'm so sorry. I just have to right now. This is a get to know me a little bit more. This is one. Oh, Caleb Williams. You cannot be so full of yourself that you're asking for partial ownership of an NFL team and then go cry to mommy and daddy after you lose a game.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a mentality thing. No, I absolutely agree. There's a mentality
And,
concern
and
there.
so if we drafted him, I'd want him to sit behind Russ, because give tell fuck who who I told
Oh,
you, I caught it. I caught it. I
swear
caught
jar
it.
almost. We almost had to
I
put some
caught
money
it,
in.
and I told you, dude. Sometimes these little triggers, man, and Caleb Williams is a little trigger for
Trigger.
me, man. No, dude, that's the type of player that needs to sit behind a guy like Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson has been the #1 most hated person in the NFL for the last year and a half, and the dude hasn't changed an ounce.
Yeah, no,
He is
absolutely.
he is he is the most mentally steely guy ever. He's Russ, man.
Yeah,
And
no.
Caleb Williams needs to learn that in a win or a loss, you don't get to go cry. You take it on the chin and you
If
move
you're
on.
gonna cry, you go cry with your teammates. You
Yep.
go show the heart, like, man, we
Yep.
had this. And I mean,
Together.
you could look at the
Together. Your mom not on that field, bro.
you could be the best athlete, and arguably, tangibly, he is probably one of the best quarterback prospects we've seen from an athletic and production standpoint.
Well, look at what
But if you
mentals can do
don't
to
have
turn
the
it around.
mentality, man, you ain't gonna make it in this league. You aren't,
Yep.
and
Get
that's
Antonio
been my
Brown.
biggest concern. Right? Oh yeah, no, I mean, well,
Generational talent didn't have the mentals to stay in the league.
no, absolutely. Hey, I won't disagree with that. I definitely think that's the
We'll
concern.
get there in a sec, guy.
Yeah, I mean, and just staying on Caleb Williams really quick, Mel Kiper said, the difference talent wise, he didn't feel was drastically different between Caleb Williams and Drake May. He said it's a slim margin. If it was a group of 10 people and you had Williams at 5, May would be 10. It's that close. So it's going to be interesting to watch as this draft process continues. I mean, we have multiple older quarterback. I mean, not older, but older for prospects. I mean, Penix and Nix, they're both in their, they're approaching 24. Then you got your youngins in May, Williams, and then there's this wild card that comes out of nowhere. And I mean, Michigan's under a ton of scrutiny and heat. JJ McCarthy might just say, screw it, let's go. And that's an interesting name that I would like to keep an eye on. But we'll talk quarterbacks as we continue, because who knows where we're going to end up
We're
at
not
the end of this.
we're not taking a quarterback this year. Unfortunately, we're too good. We're too good.
I mean,
Well, high round.
I don't know.
High
I don't know, man. It depends. I think it honestly depends on where the season goes.
Well, I'm saying even if we lose out every single game here, we're not getting Drake May or Caleb Williams, because
No,
the
you're going to get one of these guys
candidates
that
are
you
that
would be
bad.
in. Yeah, you'd definitely be in one of those ranges. You'd be in the JJ McCarthy to Michael Penix. Yeah.
Yeah, and we just don't have the draft capital for that, man. That's why it's
Mm-mm.
like you paid Russ the money, dude. Build the team everywhere else, and then when Russ is able to go on, then you get a quarterback, but you don't have
Nah,
to tie your
I
hand.
don't disagree. I think it just really depends on where they fall.
No, absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, if you find a way, I mean, I'd love to say that if we lost out the rest of the way, we could trade up, but we don't have anything to trade up.
I
So
don't. Yeah, that's why. And
it's
going back to what we had for the
e-
first part of this conversation, there was no
exactly.
tradable assets to give us enough that we felt comfortable enough to move up or move on. And like
They're
I said,
handcuffed.
yeah, they truly are. I
They
mean,
handcuffed
unless they
themselves to
absolute,
Russell to the bed, and we're
yeah,
all just in it together now.
I mean, if we're being probably completely honest with ourselves, there's only one quarterback in the first round that makes sense that's going to fall in the range, and it probably would be JJ McCarthy just based off a draft standpoint. He's not going to go in the top 10. It's unlikely that he'll go in the top 10. I mean, there are going to be a lot of quarterback desperate teams, so it's not he's right in that fringe range. But if you're not going to take a Bo Nix, you're not going to take a Michael Penix, even if you traded back to the 20s. Let's say they did that, you're not going to do that. And Penix is skyrocketing right now. McCarthy's come up. Nix is, but it comes back down to that age factor. You're not sitting at 24 going in a 25-year-old quarterback. You're just not. You just can't.
No, Graham, not at this point in the season. You missed the train on that one.
Yeah, it's yeah. So, and it really depends where you fall of 13. I mean, right now, realistically, we're probably sitting between 13 and 16. Realistically, probably. I mean, if we keep our realism hat, it's probably somewhere in, I would say 12 to 16, somewhere in there.
But so yeah, and at that point, see, for me, I'm a trenches guy. Another thing about that, you win and lose football on
No,
both sides of
absolutely.
the ball in the trenches, and the Broncos don't have trenches on either side of the ball. Um, I hate to say it, Broncos didn't really force the picks.
No.
There's zero pressure on Josh Allen. Like, I don't know how we got 4 turnovers and zero pressure. Did we even get a sack last night? I don't think we got a
No,
sack.
that's why Ken Dorsey's gone, bro. He's putting that was the problem. He was putting all
Like,
Brian Dabble recognized when Josh was in his own head too much. That relationship was so much different than what he had. It was established. They went through they went through, for lack of a better term, they fought through those trenches. They figured it out through the bad times. They figured out what worked, what didn't. Dabble was able to put his prowess aside, his pride aside, and realize this is what I have. This is the fragile mentality. This is the when he's under pressure, he's making bad decisions, and he found ways to take the pressure off him. Ken Dorsey, we seen it in Denver. We talked about it earlier. James Cook, 6.9 yards. It was over that carry. Did nothing to help out the quarterback who was struggling. It comes down to recognizing, and that's why Dorsey's gone, and that's why even though Dabble struggled at first, he got the second chance. I mean, and McDermott's on the hot seat. Let's be real. Regardless, I mean, you can't make it to the AFC Championship and consistently win the AFC East and not do nothing with it. Let's just be honest.
I mean, the moment the Bills season is over, unless it ends in the Super Bowl, they're cleaning house.
They have to.
I mean,
They absolutely have to.
can't waste the talent on that team for as many years as they have. I mean,
Absolutely.
at some point, it's not just bad luck on a coin toss anymore.
No, absolutely.
I do want to
So,
these questions.
go ahead. Yeah, definitely. I wanted to go back to when we got early in the show. This one right here from Denver Bronco Roundup, and a good buddy of mine, Keith, Jody, all those guys. They do a great job over there on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. He's coming at us. Good evening, Colorado Sports Connection. Who is the player that has exceeded your expectation this season, and which player has played below your expectations? If you don't mind, I'll just do a rapid fire of mine. Exceeded Jaquan McMillan. I mean, the dude's had the dog in him since day one. He was fighting Mathis on the practice field saying, I need these reps. And he's done everything he can since he stepped up, even though he's in the nickel role now. He's done everything he could do, man.
He's part of that. He's part of the reason this defense is turned around. You take Mathis off the field, who
you put a veteran over there in Monroe,
Davante Adams.
Yeah, and I mean, and he came in. He's made the most out of his opportunity. I think he's like the third ranked cornerback according to PFF right now, which give or take, you can how you feel on them on any given Sunday. But and then the one who's played under my expectations, that gets a little hard for me. I probably
so easy. There's a right answer to this question.
I'm probably gonna say who we talked about earlier. And I think it's Jerry for me. I still waiting for him to be the guy we need him to be, the guy he was drafted to be, and he just can't be it. Oh, well, Mike McGlinchey at first. If
There it
we talked a
is.
couple weeks
There it
ago,
is.
man. If we
There
talked a
it
couple
is.
weeks ago, I would probably said
That's the
Mike.
one.
But he's gotten better every week, and that's all you can ask for.
Do you know why he's gotten better every week?
Because they give him constant help. I mean, even bringing in Quinn
They're
Bailey to
giving
help
him
on the run.
it's because they're running the ball. He doesn't have
Yeah.
to protect Russ. He doesn't have to do half his job. That's why he's doing better. They took away half of his job.
Hey, no, amen. And he's always got. I mean, they got a tight end over there. They bring an extra lineman in on that side all the time.
People want to say Russ is the worst contract on our team. That's in the
I will agree with you on
no,
that.
the most untradeable contract on the team is not Russ. It is
No.
Mike McGlinchey.
No, absolutely. That is the absolute worst contract. And
Ben
as
Powers is a close second on.
I mean, he's not played bad though. I mean, overall, the offensive line hasn't been terrible. It hasn't been terrible.
Okay, the only reason you can't say it's terrible is because they're good in the run game. But dude,
I mean, what was it?
Russ, okay, and so I see this all the time, dude, on Twitter and everything. People roasting Russ and saying like the offensive line can't be that bad because Russ has the slowest snap to pass time in the league. Well, it's because the second the ball hits his hand, he has to run 15 yards left or right because he has an unblocked man straight up in his grill. I mean, the amount of times. Well, okay, McGlinchey.
Yeah, that's the problem right there. That is the problem.
Maybe he is getting better at blocking for the run and maybe a little bit in pass protection. But I'll tell you one thing that an NFL veteran needs to knock off is the penalties.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because this team, we've talked about how volatile this offense is. One penalty and a drive is over. That's what happened in the Bills game. One penalty,
several times
over. You cannot have a guy that is as important to the leadership of that offensive room and a very vocal man at that be doing this every single week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He is definitely the kryptonite of the offensive line. The other guys have found a way to mesh well and work well. I mean, Cush is drastically improved up until Buffalo, where he had 3 mental mistakes. Prior to that, I mean, he was legitimately improved. Quinn Miners is Quinn Miners. I think he's one of the most underrated offensive linemen in the NFL. But
he's a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, man, he does everything he can do right. I mean, and Garrett Bowles, I mean, he gets hot and cold, but I mean, this has been a hotter season. He's fine. He is a capable starting left tackle in this league, and that's what he is.
If I don't have to talk about the left tackle, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. He's done enough to be in that category of is it functional? Is it functional? And it is. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's when 3 out of 5 ain't when 3 out of the 5 start the season rough, and then 2 of them are meh. That's where it is. And honestly, the Broncos have done a really good job scheming around it and helping those guys out. And that's part of this whole process with this Broncos team, man. Let's give Russ a little bit of a break too, man. That dude has come to Denver. He learned Nathaniel Hackett's offense that everybody said was extremely complicated, extremely wordy, very difficult to comprehend and get into the flow of. And then he comes straight into a Sean Payton offense the next year, which Sean Payton himself admitted is too wordy of an offense. So, I mean, it takes time.
Yeah, and that's one thing, and I'll admit it myself. Patience is a virtue, and it's been difficult. It's hard for Broncos country to be patient.
Separate it. I know Sean Payton with his snippiness in the post games, that not my hump. It's not Sean Payton's hump. This is a different Broncos, and we have to be fair to Sean Payton.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is
his hump. It's his first season. He has not been responsible for the last 7 years of losing.
Yeah, exactly.
Responsible for our 4-5 record, and that's all we can hold them to.
Yeah, I mean, and people get so frustrated. Like at the beginning, there were so many people jumping around trying to jump down Sean Payton's throat. He's the problem. This is stupid. Absolving everybody else of any responsibility, but we have to also take into account this is a team that was inherited. He's had very minimal impact on what this roster is.
And that's part of who he is. He's a GM head coach combo.
Yeah. And he's going to take time to get Sean Payton guys here. If we're sitting at 7 wins for the next 3 consecutive seasons, 8 wins, 9 wins, whatever.
Get him through a few drafts too.
then we get to start
Congrats.
saying, then we got to start throwing our hands up in the air. And but right now, yeah, absolutely, definitely. Well, moving along real quick, you didn't get a chance to name your two guys. If you want to do a rapid fire real quick,
Um,
most
same,
improved.
except
Perfect.
for my downside is just McGlinchey.
Yeah, I would say maybe the maybe another one who's most surprising for me would have been Lloyd Cushenberry because with the growth we've seen and the relationship he's been able to build with his quarterback and even some of his other offensive linemen, that has been a positive impact. I mean,
I'm
we seen him coaching up McGlinchey in Buffalo. I don't know if you've seen the post floating around. Yeah. So it's definitely that would be maybe one that's maybe an unsung hero or with improvement from where he was last year. That would maybe be another one you could throw into that little bit of a category. But lastly, let's dive into just a real quick. We talked a little bit about the Viking games. We're going to be breaking down the Viking games probably next week. Like I said, we'll get you guys the date and time when it's a little bit more consistent. Um, Rapid fire. What's your prediction for this week? It's early. We're riding a win. Where are you coming at?
um, dude, the Pastronauts got to come back down to the atmosphere at some point, right?
Yeah, and yeah, no, absolutely.
That's Denver's a really great place for him to do that.
Yeah,
I think it's more the Broncos than the Vikings. Broncos are going to be playing with a lot more emotion. That game was something else, and to come off
absolutely.
of that after breaking a 16 game losing streak, it doesn't matter if the Vikings are on a 5 game winning streak. They do not have the emotional high and emotional charge that the Broncos do, and it's too close of a matchup talent wise for me. Um, between between it being both a home game for the Broncos and them just having a lot more to be amped about. I think the Broncos do win this. I unfortunately don't think the Broncos are capable of scoring more than like 24 points. But with this defense, that should be plenty, man. As long
No,
as the Broncos, like I said earlier, it's a very simple recipe. Take what the defense gives your offense, whether that's a check down and maybe if that's only 3 shots down the field, whatever. Take what they give you, pound the rock. I want to see 36 minutes of possession time again. Pound the rock and just don't turn the ball over. And you know what? Come the fourth quarter, who knows what's going to happen? So, I'll take the Broncos something like I like 20 to 24.
okay. So, as the people who've watched me on Broncos Weekly, Friday mornings at 10 a.m., with now David Slade running the show over there by himself, you would see that I have picked the Broncos to lose every single week, even after the win against Kansas City.
If you
So,
pick them to pick, if you pick them to beat Buffalo, you crazy.
exactly. I have not picked.
Hoping. You're
I,
hoping. You're
yeah.
hoping.
So while I've been wrong a few times of recent, I still have a positive record. So I'm going to ride that in the sunset. But I'm going to do the first time all season, and let's hope it's not the jinx that derails the season, Baylor. I'm going to
Hopefully,
take.
I'm not the jinx that
I'm
derails.
going to take the Denver Broncos in a victory for the first time this season. And either way you look at this game's going to literally come down to the slimmest margin of points. This is going to be in that 1 to 3 point victory range. Let's be
Mistakes.
honest.
Mistakes.
It's going to come down to who screws up first, who misses the field goal. That's honestly probably what's going to come down to. Who misses the PAT, who does this wrong. That's what it's going to come down to. I
The
am
ball
going
is
to,
smart.
yeah, I'm going to take the Broncos in this one. I don't think it's going to be that big of a score. I think it's going to be 17-13 Broncos.
It sounds like a miserable.
It's going
I
to, that's what we do best. We play these
no,
ugly,
I
slow
agree.
games, and it's
I
really
agree.
boring to watch. And
My 24 to 20 score prediction was for America because we're back to back.
yeah, I can't. If we come out here and we have another Colts Broncos primetime special with the Vikings, just we're
No,
not talking
we
next week. We're
can't.
just not
No,
going to talk
we're
next
good.
week.
You only get one of those primetime football games a year, and the Colts and the Patriots took care of that in Germany for us
Yeah,
this weekend.
yeah, no, absolutely. So there we have it. We talked Broncos. this was really, hey, this was our first show. We're going to get things rocking and rolling. A big thanks again to Willow Seasonings and Blends for allowing us to come on here, chat with you guys. Please, please, please check them out, willowseasoningblends.com. They're going to have holiday sales that are great stocking stuffer. I could give you the whole spill. I mean, you might have enough time if you order now to put some of this delicious seasoning on that Thanksgiving turkey coming up, or whatever you choose to have for your Thanksgiving dinner, or even if you're just going to get Chinese food, spice it up. That's what it is. Put a little spice in your life is their tagline. So thank you to them for allowing us to be here today. But we both predicted Broncos victories. We can't wait till next week to break down, hopefully, the Broncos victory. And we'll get you guys a time here, post on our social medias here within the next few days. Baylor's got a work schedule he's figuring out. I got a new work schedule I'm figuring out. So we're going to get to you guys those concrete details. But until next time, man, we'll see you then.